You can't make this up, guys. The more people are bearish at support levels, the more I'm going to get bullish at support levels and tell you that I'm expecting the price to go up, and the more that is exactly what we're going to see. Let's break this down because we've got some really interesting things here. We could be seeing Bitcoin continuing to rise up towards that $27,000 area. We're basically knocking on the door of that level right now. There's a lot to break down. There's a lot of mayhem in the altcoin market as well. There's so much that I want to go through with you. If you're excited for this, do me a favor and smash up the likes as we get in on this YouTube video. And guys, I am in Singapore right now. I am with Bybit. Check them out with the link in the description down below. We are doing the F1 event. If you're here in Singapore, hit me up on Instagram. And while you are down there in the description, they're giving you up to $30,000 in straight free cash to trade with. There's so many ways you can deploy this cash in the market right now. It's free money anyway. Any profits that you generate are yours to keep. I'm going to be talking to you about that as we go on. But if you're interested, sign up now. Get yourself in now. Once you start trading on Bybit, you're going to get that extra cash deposited into your account. But let's come back to the video here and break down exactly what we've seen. I mean, the key thing that I was looking for and that I was telling you guys about in one of the recent YouTube videos here, I keep it nice and simple. You know me, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to overcomplicate my analysis ever. I just want to make money, and that's what I'm here for. And what we've got right here, guys, was this nice big pump to the upside right after we set the new low. Okay, so I was talking to you about, we set the high over here, we hit another high over here, but what we didn't do is that we still didn't test the lows. And so naturally, if you've tested the highs consistently, you've got to end up coming down, test the lows once or twice. That's exactly what we did here. And that's what paved the path for Bitcoin to get this initial move up. But here's where it gets better. On the way back down, we did exactly what I was hoping we would do. We had this old area of support, and where previously we used it as resistance, we were then able to flip it and turn it into support. And this, ladies and gents, is where the magic happened. We ended up flipping a previous area of resistance into support once again, and that is what has enabled Bitcoin to rally up harder, and that is absolutely phenomenal. That's exactly what we wanted to see, and all of this at a time where the dollar is actually incredibly strong right now. The dollar was pulling back a little bit, but Bitcoin doesn't seem to care. When the dollar started to rally up, Bitcoin followed anyway. So that's really good. There's, like I said, there's a lot to unpack here, so bear with me, strap yourself in. The first thing that I want to talk about on this short-term chart here is that we are now facing resistance, and we're facing resistance in an area that comes as no surprise. We've already known this would be an area of resistance. If you've been watching this channel because you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, then you're going to know all about this already. This is the exact range that Bitcoin topped out in. When we initially fell down here, we got this rejection right here, and it took the market down by about 4% within a day, and we weren't able to recover this level for only about 5-6 days. But really, the last time that we've come here with the, if we don't count this exception, it has now been 3 weeks. So, this is definitely an important level on the market, but this is what's so exciting. Now that we've actually tested the downside, one of the things that we have to consider when we're in a market like this, especially when things in the short term, mid-term are just not looking that bullish, one of the things that we have to consider is that, we are going to give the bulls a window of opportunity, and we are going to give the bears a window of opportunity. And that is really important, ladies and gents. That is really, really important. It's critical to keep in mind. If we are in a downtrend, but the bears, for whatever reason, just haven't had a chance yet, then if they finally get that chance, if they get that liquidity grab down where you sweep all of the wicks and you drop right down to that support level and actually down to the absolute low, you fall all the way down to 24.9. So you've even fallen below that psychological area. You've grabbed that liquidity and then come back up. That is an example of the bears having a chance. The bears had a chance, they fumbled the bag, and now we're seeing Bitcoin start to rally up as a result of that, which is absolutely great. This puts us in a better position than when we moved up over here, and it puts us in a better position than when we moved up over here. Why is that, you might be asking? Well, it's because of exactly what I was saying over these last few minutes. See, back here, we didn't have such heinous drops to the downside. Even this, to be honest, and I said this to you just in a recent video, wasn't that bad of a drop. So we might still be due for a bigger drop, but the market doesn't seem to agree with that statement, and the market's going up anyway. So I'm not going to jump in front of this train. And what we have now is, ever since we've entered this range, we've had basically 27 days of more or less sideways price action with a liquidity grab to the downside, and then the market saying, no, I'm moving up now. If this sticks, and guys, if we flip this area of resistance, that is it. as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that is going to be the most significant development that we have seen in this chart for the last month, and that is a really big deal. Everyone and their grandmother was telling you that September is historically a bad month for crypto, you know, and what do we have here? You know, like, it's just, these kind of tropes, they're just not the kind of thing that I like to pay attention to. I completely understand that there's a lot of statistical relevance to this kind of thing, and I even talk about it too from time to time, but there's a time and a place. And I was telling you guys that, look, the bottom line is that everybody has been too far on one particular side. And you know what? I might even be wrong about this. I might even be wrong about everything that I'm saying here, and the market ends up reversing and dropping down. But in the meantime, I've already secured my profits. I've already been in this Tron trade that I told you guys about right here. It has gone phenomenally well, an incredibly successful trade. This is the post that I shared inside of VIP. VIP is 50% off if you follow these steps in the description right now, or the links down here as well. You're getting 50% off on VIP right now, which is absolutely crazy. Check it out, because we're going to be wrapping this sale up over in the next few days. You know, but I've already, like I said, I've already made the gains that I wanted to make here. I mean, here's my Twitter page where I was talking to you guys about this trade a little bit. You can see it right here. This is not even the most up-to-date screenshot. The most up-to-date screenshot is actually on my Instagram, so check all the socials out if you are interested. I've now made over 25,000, close to I think $30,000 profit on this Tron trade right here, and my stop loss is now at break even. I'm actually about to move it up into a minimum guaranteed profit of 40%, and this is the point that I think is really important. You know, bottom line, I understand that, you know, you and I are here to discuss Bitcoin's price action and where Bitcoin might go. Are we going to rally up? Are we going to drop down, break support, go down to 20, or are we going up to 30? That's the most important pressing questions that you and I want to discuss. But the bottom line is that we're both here to make money, right? And when you keep that in mind, it almost doesn't matter if you're right or wrong about these kind of things, because ultimately, if you're pulling trades like this, and if your stop loss is raised to break even, and you just don't have anything to lose, and you've done everything you wanted to do, it's good. You know, one of the things that I think surprises people when they join 𝗬𝗙𝗡's VIP, you know, is that in the past I was having situations where actually I was wrong quite a bit, you know, like consistently wrong about my ideas in the market, but I was getting in the market, I was making money, I was moving my stop loss to break even, and I was still making more money than everyone that you've seen around, you know, just aimlessly taking shots on shit coins, holding their fucking dick in their hands, hoping that something interesting happens to them 6 months down the line when someone makes an airdrop or whatever. That's not me, guys. I'm actually taking real charge of what I'm trying to do here, really trying to influence the outcome of my capital, you know, and actually make money in these markets. And, you know, if that kind of thing meshes with you, then obviously, thank you very much for showing your support on the YouTube channel here. This is the most important thing, and this is what I'm going to continue to tell you about throughout this video as well, because like I said, you know, with that free $30,000 that Bybit is giving you with the link in the description, you know, I don't think that these opportunities are over now. I think that they're only just now starting to open up. So this is the thing. If we get that support flip at 26.7, you know, we've done this now after 30 days. We've tested the low. It's a good position. It's a good place. Does it mean that, you know, is it possible that we can still mess this up and Bitcoin can, you know, just return back to this range, trade sideways, or even dump down? Absolutely. That's obviously possible. So let's not kid ourselves. Let's not jump too far ahead. You know, but what we do have right now is a promising picture. And while this is developing, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to stand in front of this train. So if we see Bitcoin get above, and more importantly, get that back test, that I think is going to put Bitcoin in a really strong position to tackle its real area of resistance. And this is what we need to keep in mind. I mean, what we've done so far is nice. It's starting to look a lot like what we had previously, you know, with this move down here. I mean, you know, we can actually, this is going to get really interesting. Hang on, let me do this for you guys. If we just go ahead and, you know, just extract this price action right here and put it over what we're dealing with right now. I mean, you know, it's really, I mean, it's quite similar to what we've seen previously. This is not completely out of character for Bitcoin. Even within just this year, you know, this price action, I want to remind you guys, was only in June, and that was 3 months ago. So, you know, this is fairly recent. Bitcoin is following in the path that it's laid out for itself already at the very same price range. There's definitely something to that, right? Like, let's not just brush this off and act like there's nothing significant to that. You know, and while we're doing that, we do have to break the most significant area of resistance on this chart right now until we get to 30K. And right now that block is still going to be around this $28,000 range. That's where we topped out previously, and that's where I would expect that we're going to encounter some serious problems if we get there again. I'm not saying that we're going to break it for sure, but again, if we've already tested it once, and if we've already tested the low and the market has rejected that, that puts us in a stronger position to break this resistance the following time. You know, one of the most classic things to keep in mind, page 1, chapter 1 of technical analysis, which is where I live. You guys know me, right? I mean, I don't try and complicate things. How many indicators have I used throughout this video? I'm just drawing fucking circles for you guys. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a super basic analyst, and that's why what I do works. It's because I don't complicate things. You know, one of the most basic ideas in technical analysis is that the more times you test a level, the more likely it is to break, you know, and we've seen this already, right? I mean, if we look at the low right here, how many times did we test these, you know, lows right here? These are 4 individual wicks. The 5th one failed. You know, does that mean we need to test this area 5 times to break it? Or does it mean we only need to test it 2 times to break it? I don't know. I don't hold those answers, and it's different every time. And, you know, that's what makes trading interesting, because, you know, you can always have a different opinion in these markets. But, you know, one of the things that's important to keep in mind as we visualize what this market actually looks like is that we're looking at this market in terms of probability. You and I are not interested in the exacts of what may happen or what may not happen, and we need to get 100% accuracy or anything like that. I'm not in that business. You're not in that business. We're just trying to look at probabilities and position ourselves accordingly. That's basically where you make the money, especially if you're trying to be realistic, and especially if you want to make money in the long term, and especially if you don't want to lose money. Take a shot every time I said especially there. There we go. And so, you know, this resistance area here, absolutely critical. You know, it's basically, if we break this one, that's the next area. You know, let's say we get up here, the best thing that could possibly happen to Bitcoin is we move back down to this area, capture some support where we were previously finding resistance. This is already an area that was providing support to Bitcoin just 3-4 months ago, by the way, so it's not like this would be out of the ordinary either. You know, in fact, it's an area that Bitcoin has been able to flip a lot. We flipped it as support and resistance continuously throughout the course of May and June. Who's to say that we can't do this again now in September of the same year? You know, I think it's well worth paying attention to this right now, again, especially as everybody and their grandmother is so fucking bearish on the market. We've seen the fear and greed index abysmally low for a very long time. Even right now, we're only at 45, which is really telling, because the market just hasn't been that bad, in my opinion. And I've been telling you why continuously in all of these YouTube videos, yet we still fell down to levels of basically extreme fear. You know, just 3 days ago here on this fear and greed index, we fell down to a reading of 30. Was that warranted? Bitcoin doubled from its high and then consolidated when it's still 60% up, and now we're back to extreme fear. You know what I mean? These are the kind of things that I've been telling you guys about when it was difficult to digest those ideas. And you know, that's the thing about trading, is it always 100% of the time works that way, right? When these ideas are difficult to digest, when these ideas are, you know, they just feel scary to talk about, when you feel like everybody else who's smart is disagreeing with you, that's where you make the money. You have to learn to be comfortable with that. And, you know, it's not easy to do that, by the way. I mean, I wasn't able to learn to do that myself. I had to watch other traders trade, you know, in order to grow that pair of balls for myself. I'm not saying that that's going to be the same case for you, but obviously it can be very, very helpful. And if you want to, again, jump inside VIP for that 50% off and see how I'm pulling it off, then definitely do follow those steps on screen right there. So that's Bitcoin right there, with some really, really interesting price action to the upside. The S&P 500 is also doing the same thing. We've seen a small move to the upside. I think this is more a continuation. It's still something that I'm very interested in taking a look at and trading. I think that if the S&P 500 continues to consolidate like this and coil up, then really the only thing we're doing is trending up, pausing, trending up, pulling back, trending up, pausing, and then getting ready to, you know, continuing that trend. It's the most basic staircase to heaven pattern that we can expect in any market, and the S&P 500, an incredibly reliable index, is printing that as well. So I'm seeing good things right here as well. It's a weird time, I know, like everything's conflicting, but you know, I mean, I'm still not going to ignore what I'm seeing. I know what I'm seeing with my own eyes, and that's what I'm telling you guys about. So this is also something I'm interested in trading. BingX allows you to trade it. Check it out with the link in the description. They allow you to trade Tesla, Apple, commodities, Forex, indices, everything. You know, no KYC, just a Bitcoin deposit. Absolutely crazy offer. Well worth checking out. So S&P 500 also looks good. If the S&P 500 is bullish, if Bitcoin is bullish, I think that puts us all in a really, really good place. And speaking of these really, really good places, let's take a look at the altcoin market. You guys know that I've been trading Tron. It has just shot up again. Just a reminder, I told VIP members, days before it dropped down, that if it falls down into this green box, this is such an obvious trade, right? This was a previous area of resistance. I literally didn't even use one indicator on this, by the way. And by the way, speaking of indicators, I want to talk to you about Bitcoin again in just a minute, so stick around for that. But I didn't even use an indicator to give you this analysis inside of VIP. I didn't need to. It was so obvious. And that's just because we're always watching the market, right? Like, you might not have the time to spot these opportunities, but I do, and my team does as well, and that's what we're doing, and that's what I'm highlighting to you as well. So I was able to trade the back test here, and it's just been a straight blow up from there. It's already up by 7.3%. I'm trading this on 10x leverage, so you do the math. I've already made upwards of 70% profit with this trade right here, which is absolutely beautiful. And what's really crazy, and the reason that there's still just opportunity right around the corner here, is that where we are topping out right now is more or less a very significant area of resistance for Tron, where actually if we're able to get above it and then really zoom out, things could get really crazy for Tron. Especially with these highs right here, this potential triple top that has just been, by the way, just angling higher, just begging to break out, almost in an ascending triangle. There's also an ascending triangle on Bitcoin. Trust me, what I'm going to share with you about Bitcoin is going to get really interesting, but I've got to go through this with you first. If we do see that breakout, even if it's just a wick, even if it's just a small wick, that's still another 3%. And if it's a wick like last time, that's another 13%. This alone will give me an additional 130% profit. I'll be in a 200% gain. That's a 3x gain on my position if we just go up to the wick. And we can clearly see that the market is angling higher and trying to get that breakout right here. So this is very, very interesting. It's a very compelling chart right now, and there's basically no resistance if we do get that pump to the upside. It's a similar picture for coins like Cardano. I covered this with you in yesterday's YouTube video. Shout out to those of you that did watch it. What we've got on this Cardano chart right here, if I go ahead and draw a box to represent this area of support that we are in right now, is that we are basically trading now between two critical large areas on the chart. We've got basically a 60% gap between where we are and the next macro area of resistance ahead for Cardano, and all we need to do is bounce to trigger it. I know that it's a scary proposition, and it's not even something that I like the look of, because it just looks like this is a really weak chart. It really looks like it's going to break down, but how unrealistic is it to say that Cardano does something a little bit like this? I think that it's totally realistic to say that Cardano can do something like this, just basically stall out for a little bit, not do this yet, not actually crash down yet, maybe have one more bounce, fuck around for a little bit, and then come down. Entirely possible. Maybe it doesn't even come down. Maybe this is the end and you can finally get your girlfriend back and make some money again. But I'm not jumping that far ahead. What I'm more interested in is just the opportunities that lie ahead in the market. And what's really cool again is, with fucking free money to trade this stuff, it's almost a no-brainer, right? There's just endless opportunity here waiting to be taken advantage of. If it works out, then great, you get to withdraw potentially thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in profit. And if it doesn't work out, it wasn't your money to begin with, so it doesn't even matter, right? Super cool to be in this position right now at these pivot points in the market. This is what we've been waiting for, and now that it's here, it's scary. And guess what? It's like that every single fucking time. So let's be real, when the market gives you the opportunities, even though it's scary, sometimes you just got to understand that, look, if you don't take it, somebody else will. And I'm not saying that this is the one to take. Obviously, for different people, it's going to be different. For me, it's not quite ideal. I was more interested in Cardano compared to Tron, it's basically the same trade. Cardano, is coming down now to bounce off an area of support, and Tron, my trade was similar. It wasn't exactly the same, because Tron had a much cleaner, much safer chart setup. And that's why I took it, right? Not everything is perfect. There's varying degrees to this. But if you look across the altcoin market, there is so much more like this. Let's take a quick look at Shiba. Also, just at lows. At an all-time low. Just buying this. I'm not saying that it can't do something like this. It absolutely can. But shit, how much is it going to do that? At some point, you just got to acknowledge that that there's a lot of upside here on these kind of coins, and that I think is one of the things that makes this really interesting right now. If we look at Ethereum, we're seeing a somewhat similar image right here. just a huge amount of opportunity if this thing does end up playing out. So let me actually just come back to Bitcoin here and talk to you a little bit more about Bitcoin's immediate price action, and one of the reasons that this is actually a really strong position for Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take this chart, and what I actually want to draw for you is a very short-term ascending triangle on this chart for Bitcoin here. So you know what this looks like is basically an ascending triangle a little bit like this. It's not huge. I mean, we formed this over the course of just basically 2 days. It's a really short-term pattern, and we've already had the breakout. But here's what's interesting, right, is that if we actually, let me just clean this up so it doesn't look so horrible. If we actually throw the Ichimoku cloud onto this chart on the 4-hour time frame, then what we can see is we've actually basically broken out of the resistance here. And now this is where I start getting really excited. You know, like what I like is progress for the market, especially if I want the market to be bullish. And you know, I'm still in my long position, by the way. That hasn't changed. The position's more or less unchanged from this screenshot. The position has actually made me more money since this screenshot. You know, so that's absolutely fantastic. I'm super happy with it. And you know, one of the things that I want to see is that the market is making meaningful progress, especially if people are still fading it, especially if people are still not believing it. They're not drinking that Kool-Aid. They're not, you know, they're not buying into it yet. You know, if that's the case, then I'm paying even more attention. And what we've got right now is a volume, you know, a pump with some, you know, fairly significant volume right here. I mean, look at this massive green bar. And at the same time, I mean, if we measure the height of this ascending triangle, this is a 2.5% ascending triangle. If we fulfill the target, theoretical target of this kind of pattern, that already puts us right at $27,000 and also above the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud, which would be the most significant bullish development that we've seen in the chart, basically, you know, since we bounced off over here. This is 7th of July. I mean, we're going back 2 months now, you know, 70 days. I mean, that'll be the most significant, you know, bullish Ichimoku interaction that we've had in an incredibly long time, you know, and we've already nearly done it. So that is really exciting. I mean, the resistance on the 1-hour time frame, long gone, but also not particularly interesting anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. And this is where obviously, you know, I've got to dial in some of that happiness a little bit, you know, but if we're quick about it on this 1-day time frame, I mean, if we can get this breakout basically by the end of this month, which by the way is 2 weeks away, so it's not, you know, I mean, it's not like it's super close. It's not far either, but it's not super close. If we can get this breakout within the next 2-3 weeks, we don't even have heavy resistance on the daily cloud, you know, and this is really important. At the beginning of the video, I was talking to you about the market giving bullish opportunities to bulls and bearish opportunities to bears, and the question is, do the bulls capitalize or do the bears capitalize? And what we saw at the beginning of this video is that the bears had an opportunity and they did not capitalize. Well, what happens when we get up to this Ichimoku cloud? They're going to have another opportunity. Will they capitalize? Yes or no? If they don't capitalize, and it's going to be hard to because the resistance cloud just isn't that big right now, then, you know, we're going to be very well positioned to potentially take advantage of this and continue to rally higher from the perspective of this indicator. It really is a very good position that Bitcoin has found itself in, and just look at how quickly all of that changes, and look at how it changes based off being at a support level. You know, this is why I'm not losing faith when we're down to support levels and when we're crashing down and potentially just dropping down to grab liquidity. That's why you don't see me getting scared. Like, when's the last time you've seen me get scared on a video like this? It just doesn't happen, because I know that that's precisely when everybody else is scared, and I'm not trying to be with the rest of the, you know, the crypto traders. I'm not trying to be standing in the same circle. I'm not trying to be in the same Telegram group or the same Discord chat group or any of that bullshit. I just want to make money, and in order to do that, I've got to be brutally realistic and honest with myself about what I'm seeing in the market. And a critical component of that, perhaps the most critical component of that, is simply recognizing when we are at a support level and not losing my shit when we're at those support levels as well. It's the same thing that I was telling you guys when I went long on Bitcoin over here right after we fell down to that $20,000 beautiful bounce zone, and nobody wanted to believe that Bitcoin would recover. I used the exact same reasoning to enter the trade that's made me more than double my money now. So absolutely phenomenal stuff. Like I said, I'm super happy with it, and I think that Bitcoin is on a good path for some continued upside. I think the altcoin market looks similar as well. I think the dollar is looking strong, considering that it's already kind of reclaimed its high, and it's looking like it might continue to rally up. But it also seems like, you know, Bitcoin just doesn't care about that. I don't know how long this is going to last for, but one thing that I have noticed now more and more over the last few weeks and months is that the kind of relationship between Bitcoin and traditional finance, and even the relationship between the S&P 500 and the dollar, has weakened massively. It's just not the same as what it used to be. It doesn't really matter why, but it's important to recognize that that is the case. And if you are interested in why, because I'm interested, then one of the reasons I would say is probably because for Bitcoin there's just not that much liquidity. And for the dollar, I heard something very interesting from 𝗬𝗢𝗥𝗙𝗟𝗓, who is by far one of my absolute favorite role models in my life, but also in trading. Go check him out on YouTube. He's actually running a financial summit, which you can join by typing this into the YouTube search bar. I am going to this, and it's in November, so go ahead and check it out. It's very expensive, but everybody is paying the same entry ticket, so that you're getting into a very elite group of people. It's going to be in the UAE. I'm going to be there. You're going to see me in my blue cars over there, so come check it out if you are interested. One of the things that I heard him saying just in, I think, his most recent live stream is that he's bullish on the dollar, but BRICS doesn't actually have a stable currency. And this is something I was saying is like, well, we all know that the dollar is in a weak position. I still believe that to be the case, but the dollar, and this is really important, the dollar index, the DXY, is not a measure of the dollar's strength. The DXY is a measure of the dollar's strength compared to other currencies. And that's a really important distinguishment. If the pound is weak, if the euro is weak, if the yen is weak, if the Indian rupee is weak, if the ruble is weak, but the dollar is stronger than all of them and still weak, then it still means that the DXY is going to go up. And that's more or less the point that 𝗬𝗢𝗥𝗙𝗟𝗓 was making. And it's also really important to understand that while all of this BRICS stuff was taking off, and they're adding 12 new countries, one every month, and it's breaking all of these headlines, controlling 60% of the world's oil output, or whatever you want to call it, just despite all of these headlines, the dollar doesn't really seem fazed by it. And at some point you just gotta, kind of take a step back and say, what? It looks like right now, maybe not forever, but right now, this narrative isn't working. And that, that level of honesty, if you can give that to yourself, is going to serve you incredibly well. There's nothing better that you can give to yourself as a trader. So there you go, guys. I really hope you have enjoyed this video. There's a lot that I've unpacked with you here in this YouTube video. If you have enjoyed it, do me a favor and smash up those likes. Take advantage of the beautiful offers available to you with the links in the description down below. Just BingX and Bybit together are giving you over $160,000 in bonuses. With Bybit, when you start trading using my link, you're going to get up to 30K. You can throw that anywhere you like, and if you generate any profits, they are yours to keep. BingX giving you a similar deal here, over 100K in bonuses, but also traditional finance markets. You can trade actual stocks just with Bitcoin, for example. It is a crazy opportunity and definitely not something to pass up, because they're not going to be running these kind of bonuses forever. So there you go. Go check them out if you are interested. VIP is also 50% off. Everything is popping off. If you're not taking advantage of this right now, that's okay. But if you're not taking advantage of it because you were lazy, that's a real problem. So definitely do take advantage of what's in front of you. If you've been slacking, but if you just feel like this isn't your time, then I totally understand. That's really important. We're not trying to force ourselves into trades. We're not trying to force ourselves into uncomfortable positions. But at the same time, perhaps the most important skill for any trader is to understand when it's time to pull the trigger and when it's time to step back. And lately, what I've seen is that the market has opened up with opportunities where there's actually not that much risk to make quite a good chunk of money. And I've shown you that right in front of you with the Tron trade that I've made, and I've been giving you guys updates on that on my Twitter and Instagram. So there you go. Go ahead and check all of that stuff out if you are interested. I hope you have enjoyed this. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comment section down below. I'm going to be there replying to you guys as well. Thank you all so much, and I'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.